good evening everyone. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the Early Show with Latha Srinivasan. I hope you guys are doing great this Tuesday. Today again I have a very interesting guest, author Kiran Manral. She's an award-winning author. Yay, and there she is, prompt, on time, very professional, I must say. She kind of joined me immediately. So I'm going to go live with her. I'm really excited to talk to her because we keep chatting on Twitter, but we've never had a conversation as such. So this is going to be really interesting. Hi, Kiran.
Hi, Latha. Good to see you.
Good to
Finally,
see you. Yes, how are you doing? All good?
all good, all good. All in the house and safe and sound. How are things in Chennai?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As long as you're in the house, you're safe. You know, things are good. Best not to roam around. And now with the extended lockdown that we have in Chennai, it's like I think let's just all stay home, stay safe. So we've been interacting a lot on Twitter, and so I was like, okay, I must chat with you because you have a very interesting perspective on things. You tweet about a lot of things, not just books. So it's always very interesting to talk to people who have an opinion on things. And who are not afraid to share it. So I wanted to firstly, talk to you about your books. You started writing quite late in life, isn't it? So how did that really happen?
You know, Latha, I was a journalist for the longest time. I was with the Asian Age, with Times of India, with the India Today group. And then I had my son, and everything went on the back burner. I was a school gate mom for around 10 years. Yeah, around 10 years. And you know how moms are? Moms always think you can do much more than you've done with your life. So every year, my mother would be around the time of my birthday, she would start, when is your book coming out, when are you writing that book? And it would be like, I have a job, I have work, I have a kid, I don't have the time. And then when it was like 39th birthday, I said, oh shit, I'm going to be hitting 40 and I better write that book. And that's how the first book happened, so late. So it was basically
Right.
my mom off my back.
But since, over the last decade, you've written numerous books and romance. I think you have an interest in multiple things. It's not just one genre. And I also saw that, you've written a parenting book with, co-authored with Ashwin Sanghi. Right.
Yes.
So how did that happen? I mean, that was interesting. Of course, you have a son and you do tweet about, your interactions with him on and off, and interesting perspective, especially when you have kids and how parents, the kind of interactions parents today have with their children. I think because kids today are quite smart. They're much smarter, I think, than what we were when we were, at least
Absolutely.
when I was a kid, right? So how did that parenting book come about? From your own experiences, what was that like?
Actually, Latha, in that time when I was being a school gate mom, I was also one of India's top parenting bloggers.
Bloggers, yeah.
So, Karmic Kids ran for around 10 years. It was one of the top blogs of India consistently. And I sort of met Ashwin at that time. I know him from that time. That was when his first book, The Rosabelle line, came out.
Line. Yeah.
And I know him from then. After that, I've been writing on parenting across columns. I had a parenting column. So parenting has been a topic I've been writing on for longest time. And there was another book that was A Boy's Guide to Growing Up also, which I had written for Jagannath. So that's been done. And when Ashwin had the series coming out, he called me and said, Kiran, I am doing the series with co-authors and I can think of no one else I want to do this book with but you. And I was like, I don't want to give parenting advice. I mean, I'm not like the poster girl for, how to raise your kid up, right? So he felt that no, we are not giving advice here and we're not sort of sitting on a soapbox and pontificating. We're just giving life lessons, so to speak. And that's how the book came about. It was great fun.
But why did you close your blogs?
He turned 10 and he was at that particular age where he started to feel that his friends or his friends' mothers were reading stuff, and I blogged about him at a time where this whole thing about privacy of kids and stuff wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really talked about. So I was
Okay.
happily putting up stuff about him, and then I said, okay, fine. Now he has a say in what's being said about him.
Hmm.
So I better stop. So I've closed the blog. I've made it private. It's now the subject of somebody's PhD thesis as well on empowered motherhood in the early 2000s. So the blog has gone places.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And but now I don't post anything online without his consent. He's
Okay.
16 now, and it's a different kettle of fish altogether, Lata.
Yeah, I completely understand. This whole privacy thing has become a huge, not just for kids, but even with adults, right? What we post on our private social media pages and what goes on in public, I think there's a difference. You know, this year, there's, because of the coronavirus pandemic and because we've all been at home, TV viewing and, OTT platforms have there's been a huge rise in that, right? And I'm somebody who loves books, and I'm not the kind of person who can read an ebook. I just can't. I need the feel of a yeah, physical thing, right?
I hear
It's
you. I
been,
hear you.
yeah, and it's been difficult for people like me because you can't go out and buy books. And I like to see the books before I buy them. I'm not, I just can't order it online unless I've had heard about it or somebody has recommended. Um, uh, as an author, do you think that, what do you think about this whole phase that we're going through?
I think consumption of stories at the end, what are we doing? We're consuming stories, whether it is on OTT platforms or whether
Hmm.
it is reading or whether it is something, I guess, to keep our minds distracted from the crisis of what's going on. Are we
Hmm.
all going to die? Is the world going to end? Is climate change going to drown us? There's so
Yeah.
much anxiety out there. So anything that relieves us is all too well and good. I have been guilty of, watching a lot of OTT at this point, a
Hmm.
lot of OTT series, and not binge watching because I sort of ration out my viewing. So there
Right.
is viewing and there is reading and there is viewing, and if the reading is really good, then the viewing can not happen for the day. But sadly, that hasn't happened in the recent past.
Hmm.
So I think as long as we're consuming stuff that keeps us away from our anxiety, that's fine. Stories in any form is fine. Um,
Hmm.
but yes, seeing something visually is so much easier than reading, and it's
Yeah.
very easy to get sucked into just seeing something and not wanting to get back to the reading habit. So that is something I think most people, except for us bibliophiles, we would never choose a series over a book, depending
Right.
on if we had an option. But I think for us writers, it's a scary time because people preferring to watch rather than read. So,
But I think, reading gives you so many skills. You get a vivid imagination. You get very creative. Because I think, like for instance, a very basic thing, your vocabulary improves a lot, when you read versus just watching something on the screen. How do you think parents can inculcate the reading habit today? Because they have so many distractions. It's not easy.
um, I keep thinking my son is not a reader. Let me put that disclaimer right out front. I have tried and I've tried and I've tried, and he's gone after the Y chromosome donor who took to reading really late in life. So I'm hoping, like, when he hits around 40, he'll start reading. But right now, he doesn't read. So, how to get the reading habit? I think we sort of conflate reading with reading books. It should
Right.
be reading anything. It can be reading an
Okay.
encyclopedia, it can be reading a newspaper, it can be reading an article, it can be reading non-fiction,
Hmm.
anything that is of interest, as long as you're reading something, because as you said very rightly, reading activates different parts of your brains.
Yeah.
Reading makes your vocabulary stronger. Reading fiction makes your imagination stronger. When you watch a movie and you read a book, when you've read the book and you watch the movie will never match up to the book. Why is
Yeah.
that? Because what the movie in your head and the characters in your head and the locations and the situations are much richer than any movie can ever put across. So,
Hmm.
if you are not able to focus on reading, I would say just, and you want to continue reading, I tell people just make sure you read See, set a target. I mean, everything goes according to targets these days. Say, I'm going to read 10 pages every day.
Right.
Slowly and steadily, you get back to it. You start reading. But if you just say, okay, and I'm very ruthless. If something is not gripping you, if a book is not gripping you, don't labor through it. Life is very short. Before you know it, you'll be a 50-year-old like me and say, where did my life go? So just don't read it. Don't bother. If a book is not gripping you, move on to something that grips you. Don't struggle through a book because that will ruin all your reading pleasure for the rest of your books that you have. It'll just become
Um,
a chore.
yeah, that's true. You've written so many books. I want to talk about critics. Uh, do you ever feel bad if somebody gives you a negative review, or does it upset you? Does it frustrate you? Does that ever happen as an author?
I'm a bleeding heart. I cry during the national anthem at the
Oh,
movies when we used to go to movies. So you can imagine what a negative review does to me. I'll be in the bathroom sobbing my heart out. Everybody hates me. Nobody loves me. And then I'll pick myself up and go like, okay, fine. That's person's opinion. Is there anything I should learn from it? Uh, should I take it to heart? Is it written from a space of encouragement and real criticism? Is it written from a space of just being snarky about it? A lot of reviews are really constructive and they tell you what is wrong with your book. And sometimes, your your book and the reviewer, their sensibilities may not match. So some people
right.
may love the same book and some people may hate the same book, and it's fine. I think each person has their own preferences. I try not to be heartbroken, but it's difficult.
Okay, so you've written humorous stories, you've written a psychological thriller. There's been a mix. There's also some non-fiction work that you've done. What inspires you every time to put pen down to paper, or nowadays it's the laptop? Like, what is that kernel? Where do your ideas come from?
My first book came from a news snippet in the Times of India about a dead body being found in the back road behind my house then.
Okay,
So that was the inspiration. Inspiration comes from everywhere. Missing Presumed Dead came from out after all decades from an incident that happened when I was a young girl, where a woman just went away from her home and left her two kids behind.
right,
And it always stayed with me. Why would she do that? Why did nobody go hunting for her? I mean, for all I know, she must have been in an unhappy marriage. We don't know. I was a kid then. But
right.
that became Missing Presumed Dead after so many years. Face at the Window was a holiday at Mukteshwar, where I saw one cottage, my first trip to the mountains, and I saw one cottage in the middle of nowhere. And coming from Bombay, where we are like sitting on top of each other's heads, it's like, how can you live in such an isolated manner? So that really fascinated me, and I sort of built up a backstory about who could be living in such a cottage, and that became
Right.
the face of the window. So it comes from anywhere and everywhere, and non-fiction is generally commissioned.
Yeah,
So,
that's that
so
is.
there is,
So you have some book releases this year as well, isn't it?
that's right. So
What's
I very different kind of books again, Latha. One is
yeah,
uh, one is a hat tip to Shakespeare, More Things in Heaven and Earth.
yeah.
It's a little surreal. It's in the space of Missing Presumed Dead and The Face of the Window. Those who have read those books know
Okay,
it's very dark, atmospheric.
thrillers.
It's about it's very internal also. And then there is the Kitty Party Murder,
Kitty
which is fun.
party. Yeah.
That's fun, frothy, and light, and laugh a minute. And don't read it while you're drinking your coffee because you'll snort everything out and while laughing. So they're completely opposite genres, and I hope people will enjoy them.
So
I
when would those books be coming out?
the everything's been sort of delayed.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. So everything is in process right now. The manuscripts are delivered, the edits are done. One
Yeah.
line edits in one, typesetting edits in others. So hopefully, I
Yeah.
hope by the end of the year, I think September,
They
October.
should be out. Yeah.
Yes.
So I wanted to also ask you about certain issues, that in India we've been, like, for instance, Sushant Singh Rajput's death, right? Suicide, which is, I think his suicide, it really impacted people, not just forget about what's happening in Bollywood, but I mean the common man, because people look at him and think, such a successful person, how could he have mental health issues? And you've also written something around mental health, right? Do you think mental health needs to be addressed, not just, socially, but even otherwise by people? People need to write more about it. People need to talk more about it. Do you think it's very important at this point?
I wrote Missing Presumed Dead to talk
Yeah.
about mental health, and women definitely suffer more because there's a lot of neglect and there's a lot of bearing of the issues and not so much addressing of mental health. What we need to do is to normalize the conversation around mental health, to treat it as an illness and not as a stigma. What we do right now, I think the majority of people still hesitate to visit a mental health professional. Of course, it's expensive in India
Right.
to go for therapy. We toss it around so casually, go for therapy if you feel sad. But it's like 3 to 4 grand a pop. So who can afford so many
Yeah.
sessions?
Yeah.
And plus the medication, if you are prescribed anything, it's not something that people can take casually. Uh, they, I think this whole the way pop culture has shown us mental health all these years, it's been in a very stigmatized way. So it's always this hysterical woman or this, ravedly not very pleasant person. So if we, of course, in recent times there have been much more sensitively made films, but if we could normalize the conversation around in pop culture, in our literature, in our writings, in our conversations with friends, it would be a lot more helpful. And Latha, I think this whole thing about, we don't seem to understand that being successful and being famous and being rich has got no connection absolutely with being depressed or with,
Yeah.
mental health. Anybody can have it. It's like anybody can have cough and cold. Anybody can be mentally ill. So, this whole conflation with success and mental health, it needs to be addressed and needs to be addressed very strongly.
Yeah.
And definitely, the conversation has to be intensified and normalized
Yeah.
on every platform.
Yeah. One of the other issues that you've also been very vocal about is the Me Too movement. Um, that you've spoken about. And I think now somewhere it's kind of, I don't know what's happened to the whole thing. It seems to have died down. That's my perception. Like we seem to have, there was a lot of talk of it last year, and now with the pandemic, it just seems to have gone onto the back burner. But as women, as a successful author today, like you, as a successful woman, in any sphere, and you having been a journalist also, so you've worked, you've had a career. How easy or difficult is it for a woman of today, to break all those societal barriers, to deal with all these issues in their everyday life? It's not as simple as we can say, right? That's what I feel. It's easy to talk about it. It's easy to say this is what we need to do. But in everyday life, it is a tough battle for a lot of women.
It is, and look at what's happening. Latha Chinmay is still fighting her
Yeah.
battle so bravely. My heart goes out to her. So many of the accused are reinstated back in society, back in everything possible. There are women who have spoken up so bravely, and what has happened? I mean, the whole movement is. I would like to say that, maybe it's a hiatus right now. Maybe there are other issues which have taken precedence. Maybe it's just a matter of survival because the fallout for a woman has always been so much more worse than it has been for a man. Look at
Correct.
what's happened to Priya. I mean, she spoke out, but she's got the one who's got the defamation case against
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Despite so many other women speaking out in support and, all talking about their own experiences. So it is very, very difficult for a woman to talk about experiences. Sure, there may be sometimes where something may not be all kosher, but the majority when a woman has spoken out about her experiences, I think giving them the the support, all the support you can, is vitally important as another woman. I think if women, and we had
Right.
a wonderful sisterhood. We had Sandhya, we had Ritu, we had Mahima, all of them doing that. whatever, I think they did the best they could under the circumstances. It's up to us to keep talking about it. It's up to us to give the support. It's up to us to make sure that it doesn't die out. I think women are a little wary now after all that's happened. Nobody wants to talk about these things anymore. I think,
Yeah.
as you said, it happens. It happens everywhere, in all spaces, not just in media, in
Yeah.
every working space. The laws are there. What we need are sisterhoods to help women access and to fight those battles. It's expensive.
Yeah.
A
It
lot is
is.
big.
I know.
There's a
And mentally it takes a toll on the woman as well. It's not easy because you're constantly fighting, every day. And it's easier for the man because the man seems to get away with it, far more easily. So it's I don't know whether it's as a result of the patriarchal society we live in. They always think the man can do no wrong, whereas it's always the woman at fault.
yeah, the woman is temptress, the apsara, the whatever. And plus, also, then the thing of getting hired again because you get labeled as a troublemaker and nobody wants to hire
Exactly.
you. So
Yeah.
that's another barrier that women face. We've seen
Yeah.
it in so many organizations. Women who've complained, they're the ones who've left and uh, had run into roadblocks when they try to get other jobs because
Or
they're
they've
just
been asked to leave.
too late.
That's,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So these are all things that are really very real and present danger that women who decide to speak up have to think about. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go away too soon, Latha, to be honest, despite all our efforts.
Yeah. What do you think, or how do you think parents should not bring up their kids, given all these issues that we're facing, because especially their sons and daughters, because, I mean, obviously only sons and daughters, but especially sons, I would say, because I think women today are far more independent. But the boys, men, are still, they still perceive women in a certain way. And I think that has to do with their upbringing.
Upbringing, the society around them, peer group, popular culture. There's so many messages. I can tell my son, you don't expect your wife to be serving you tea and coffee while a Doraemon is showing Shizuka bringing tea and coffee or whatever snacks for the boys as they sit down and play their games. So it's important to counter all kind of messages. I would say it's
Right.
important to be a strong woman. It's important to you know. Tell your son that no matter how much Axe deodorant he's putting on him, no girl is going to fall in with that.
Yeah, some of these ads are just crazy. I don't understand. Like, anyway, that's another story. But yeah,
So constantly calling out these things, telling him that no Munni wants to be Badnaam and this is all.
yeah,
Constantly being a pest when he's watching anything and ruining the pleasure of viewing for him completely. That's what I do. And but I think it works because he's become a rather sensitive young man, and he
okay,
understands. And also being the role model of the woman, you think that he should know how women should be treated by not taking shit yourself from anybody. So if you do that, then he knows that this is not acceptable. My mom wouldn't take it. No one else is going to take it, or my sister wouldn't take it. And just live, walk the talk. I think kids
right,
pick up more from what you do than what you tell them. So just walk the talk. And as parents, I think the messaging should be consistent across both parents. I can't be being all feminist and all, and my husband ordering me around. So that's too much of dissonance within the same house.
yeah,
So that's the best you can do. You can just live out what you want them to learn, and then hope they get
right.
the message.
Okay. Another thing is there are a lot more youngsters who are getting into writing today. There are a lot more people who are self-publishing. That has happened. In fact, I know friends who have published a book of poems and short stories and so on. What is the kind of advice you'd give us for aspiring writers?
Don't be in a hurry to be published. Everyone's in a big hurry to be published. Why? Work on your craft. Work on your craft. Take the time. Marinate your experiences. Make sure that what you've written is up to the mark. Live your life. There is some writing that comes only from a space of having lived out a life and having the experiences. I see a lot of young kids in schools and colleges getting published because they wanted on that CV to be for their foreign universities, and the books are atrocious. And I hate to tell their parents that like you've spent 6-7 lakhs on bringing this out. Let the child, get the hard knocks. Let the rejections happen. It'll be so much more sweeter. How much do you want to, sweep the floor in front of them to make their path smoother? Don't do that. People who are confident, having said that, some of our most popular authors are those who have been self-published first. So you have
Okay.
Ashwin Sanghi, you have Amish Tripathi, you have Savi Sharma. They've all been self-published authors who have been picked up by mainstream publishers once they became successful. So yes, there is that paradox of being overconfident. But if you know your work is good and if your work is accepted and you've sort of done your grammar check, spell check, whatever, and you've told a good story, go ahead and self-publish if you feel you're not getting a publisher. So make sure you put the best that you can put out there. Don't do a short job because you can self-publish and whatever it is gets out. Also, there's beta readers. I would highly recommend they go to beta readers with their manuscript before they self-publish. Get a lot of critics in. Get people whom they trust the opinions of in terms of reading, and get them to read their manuscripts, do the edits. And finally, all I would say is if you're confident of your work, go ahead, but don't be in a hurry to be published. Make sure it's the best work you put out there. That's all.
Right. Right. But the other thing is, we do know the popular authors like you, like Ashwin, like William Dalrymple. I mean, so there's a lot of research, there's a lot of work that goes into it, right? Many people think, oh, I'll get published and then I'll become famous and then I'll make a lot of money. But it really, you know, yeah, they don't realize that it's just, not getting a book out and getting tons of money. What would you say to them,
Making a lot of money is not going to happen, boss. So it's like The Face at the Window took me 4 years of my life to write. The money wouldn't pay 1 month of rent and groceries. So you need to pay it accordingly. You write
Right.
because you have to write, and you have this demon inside of you that makes you want to tell your story. But it's not going to make you a lot of money. You have to hold on to your day job. So my
Right.
day job is, research and writing and projects and stuff like that. And when that doesn't come along, I'm a kept woman. I happily live off my husband. So, don't write for the money, because the money, if your work is good, the money will come. Of course, there are authors who are doing very well. There's J.K. Rowling who's
Yeah.
like the poster girl for
I
doing
know.
well
Yeah.
writing.
But I think she was very lucky.
And she
No?
wrote a good book.
Yeah. But I mean, that doesn't happen to everybody. That's like 1 in a million kind
Yeah,
of,
that's like 1 in a million.
Yeah.
There's always hope, sort of. There's
Yeah.
Chetan Bhagat here, there's Ashwin Sanghi, there's Amish Tripathi, there's
Yeah.
so many of them who actually make a living out of them writing. So,
Right.
not to dissuade anybody, it can
Huh.
happen, but it doesn't happen. It's just a very minuscule percentage of people who do. So, hold on to that day job until you start. But there's a lot of work. There's butt to the seat. The rigor of writing is something that people don't seem to see, Latha. They think little elves in your cupboard sit and come and do your book for you. It's like one book every year. Boss, I have not seen humans for days and months. I've been locked in my room and at my computer. So it's not fun and games. It's not the glamour of lit fests, and it's not the glamour of
Yeah.
interviews and your mugshot coming in the paper. It's real hard work, and it might not seem like that, but it is. So be
Yeah.
prepared for that also. And the isolation. I mean, quarantine and lockdown is ideal for us because this is the way we live anyway.
Right. So, what have you been up to otherwise during the lockdown?
I have become a domestic goddess.
Like most women, I think.
I have learned finally how to pulao roti. That's been my pandemic achievement. In 25 years of marriage, I have never made roti. So, I had them pulao. So, I've learned that. I know now that I can keep the family fed and watered without panicking, because earlier I had like 4 staff and everything was taken care of. Now there's no staff. So, I think that's been quite heartening for me to know that I can do it. But work-wise, yes, I've been working on some research projects that I do. A trend spotting project, making boring PowerPoint presentations. I've been doing the research and writing on a commission book on Farupa. That's been
Okay.
happening, and there's some long form essays that I've been commissioned to do, so I've been working on that as well. And plus, of course, Latha, you know, as writers, there's like half a draft of this sitting, another half of this sitting, 80,000 words of this sitting. So all those are going on parallelly. So there's like plus edits of the books that are due. So
Right.
there's work happening. There's always work happening. I'd be very uneasy if there was no work happening.
Okay, and my last question to you is, have lit fests really helped, giving visibility to authors that really deserve it, increasing the reading habit, really selling books, getting people published? Has it really helped in that space, or is it just more for, just for the sake of holding list fest? Because sometimes you see the same authors appear, on multiple platforms. And don't you think there should be a platform to help upcoming authors as well?
You know, Lata, I did try to do that. I did 3 years of the Women Writers Fest, where I did try to have a mix of established names, upcoming names, names that people hadn't heard about, people whom I felt were very strong voices and who needed to be heard. So it's really, really very satisfying as a curator to get an unknown speaker up there, and unknown in the sense that not very popular or known, but to have the audience respond to that speaker and say, "Oh wow, like, we really enjoyed what she had to say." There's been interesting when we had it in Hyderabad, Volga, the fabulous Volga, and she was one of our speakers, and she was in conversation with Professor Hari Kumar, and the audience members were like, "Who's Volga? What is she written?" But after she finished, he said before she came onto stage, she was sitting quietly in a corner and doing her thing. After she got off, everybody swarmed up around her, and she was like literally mobbed. So that was so satisfying for me, because here's this wonderful author who's written such beautiful, fabulous books and such strong books, and people they had not heard about it. I mean, that particular audience, I'm sure other people have.
Right.
So I think if you can just open that little window out to the audience and expose them to people may have not, to authors they may have not have heard of in the normal circumstances, because of a lot of what we consider bestsellers these days is marketing and placements. So we need to go beyond the algorithms of Amazon. We need to go beyond what is being pushed in our faces all the time. Discover other writers and discover other authors. So LitFests are a wonderful place to listen to what authors have to say without the filters of the editors' voice through the manuscript. Is to find out whether they have original thoughts on their own heads and whether they can express them. Unfortunately, my only truck with LitFests is it seems to have become very cliquish sometimes. And as you rightly said, it's the same names, the same things being repeated at certain LitFests. I mean, you know who will be there.
Yeah.
So it becomes problematic. But as long as there's some new faces, some old, I think it's fine. But then there's the other problem. There may be some wonderful authors who may not be able to express themselves verbally very well. So what happens then? So it's not it sort of does put the pressure on an author who is basically a person who writes to be a performer, to be a speaker, to be a narrator. Not many authors can do that. So it's a catch-22 situation. I think there's the good, there's the bad, and LitFest have encouraged a lot of youngsters to read, to write, to know that the authors they like are accessible, to speak to them one-on-one, and nothing can beat that. It's like when you see somebody like an Amish or Ravinder Singh or somebody, these are popular authors, and they literally
Right.
get mobbed at LitFest.
Hello?
So
Ah, okay. I think the connection is a little.
wonky.
Can
Yeah,
you hear
I
me?
can. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Suddenly. Okay, okay. So I just wanted to ask you finally, what does your son think about your books?
He doesn't read them.
Oh, he's not read even a single one?
Not a single one. He gives me inputs on the covers, and he's got very good sense of designs. So, I know the covers that he
Aesthetic.
likes are
Okay.
the ones that will really work. I wrote The
Oh.
Boy's Guide to Growing Up for him. He hated the cover, so he's not read the book.
Okay.
So he doesn't read. So I'm good with it. One day, maybe when he grows up, he'll read some of my books and maybe he'll give me some feedback. I'm hopeful. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And finally, what are some of your favorite authors, other authors that you enjoy reading, or any books that you've enjoyed in the recent?
Um, my old favorites are P.G. Woodhouse. I can read anything that P.G.
Okay.
Woodhouse.
Uh,
Daphne du Maurier. You can see echoes of Rebecca in The Face of the Window. Then there's Murakami. I loved Norwegian Wood. I loved Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. There's Cheryl Strayed. I loved her Tiny Beautiful Things as non-fiction, but it's um, Anita Nayar's Eating Wasps was lovely. I loved among our Anuradha Roy is another author I really love reading, so anything by her I
right.
have to pick up. So there are a lot of Indian authors I love as well. It's an eclectic mix, so I will read a Stephen King and I love all Stephen King's work, and I love a P.G. Woodhouse, so I can go from horror to humor and something emotionally wrenching as well. So across, it's not specific.
Across.
The way I write.
Okay.
I think the way I
Okay.
write.
And finally, any advice to readers?
Advice to readers: go beyond the algorithms, as I said before. If you read what everyone is reading, you'll be just reading the same old boring stuff. Discover new authors. Use your discernment. Go to a bookstore, pick up a book, browse to it, or go to your on the website itself, browse to the book. There's a look inside facility. See if you enjoy the writing. Find a book that speaks to you. Don't just read a book because everyone is reading it. It might not be your book. Just give new authors and new writers a chance and discover new stuff. Don't read the same old thing.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Kiran. It was really lovely speaking to you. And I think you already have some fans, some friends of mine who are like, they logged in to listen to this conversation because they're book lovers like me. So thank you so much for chatting with me. It was awesome.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. This is great fun. Thanks, Latha.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks. Bye, Kiran.
Bye
Take care.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.